Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is May 13th, and we've got a packed episode full of Houston delay news. We're going to be talking about LSTs under attack from the SEC potentially. We're also going to be talking about ETH ETF news and also combining metrics for Ethereum and Layer 2s and what they look like. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Okay, so we're going to start with some sad/good news, kind of from Langas here about the Houston upgrade. So he says, during a community review of Houston, a small number of discrepancies were found between the code and the RPIP specifications. This is what we've been talking for the last couple of weeks. The discrepancies have medium to low impact on node operator experience, but there are deviations from the agreed PDAO specifications. We acknowledge the discrepancies documented and will be revising our QA going forward. We identified these issues in our internal testing. After discussing the options in governance, we have decided that rectifying the discrepancies with RPIP 31 specifically is the best course of action. The fixes have been developed and are being audited that type this. We expect the audited report to be updated with the discrepancy fixes shortly. We will deploy the fixes to test it this week, and for testing and review. The timeline for Houston has been affected, but due to Sigma Prime's amazing support, we are looking only 8 days of delay. The revised Houston launch date is now the 4th of June 2024. Big thank you to beta testers on HQ who are doing a stellar job of breaking, griefing, and refining Houston. So this is absolutely great news, because there was potential drama here about there being bad code basically in Houston. Like Langa says, like there was like low to medium severity, but the fact that it could be fixed and it is only going to take 8 days of delay is actually like really good news. So we want Houston to be the best possible version of itself, and now on June 4th we will be getting the best possible version of Houston. So the original date for Houston was supposed to be May 6th, so that has been pushed back basically by a month in total, which as far as delays go isn't great, but isn't like the worst thing in the world ever either. So for NodeSet now, the timeline changes like 2 to 3 months after June 4th, which takes us firmly into August territory. I'm not expecting a NodeSet to go live until the end of August here, maybe even the beginning of September. So one of the consequences of this is Joe is now revoking RPIP 53. So he says, I've posted a pull request to mark RPIP 53 as obsolete. And Ramana is one of the RPIP editors and is being asked to fix that basically. So then Ramana replied by saying, merged, I want to thank you again for the work you put into this RPIP. And everyone's happy that we've reached a good conclusion. So that's fantastic. Okay, in some scary news for Rocket Pool here. So this is news coming out of the consensus lawsuit and the SEC stuff going around that, and the fact that Lido and RETH were both mentioned. Lido's STETH and Rocket Pool's RETH were both mentioned in the lawsuit, as part of the staking services. Laura Shin here says, could the SEC have a case against liquid staking protocols? Tweet. So she says the consensus received a notice from the SEC claiming that MetaMask staking and MetaMask swaps are operating as unregistered securities brokers. This move raised questions about the future of liquid staking protocols like Lido and Rocket Pool. The core issue revolves around whether MetaMask partnerships with Lido and Rocket Pool, which enable users to engage in liquid staking, could make them complicit in offering unregistered securities. This may set a precedent for similar crypto services. Legal experts are divided. Some argue that if staking itself isn't considered a securities transaction, then aiding users shouldn't be either. Yet the SEC stance suggests otherwise, following actions against Kraken and Coinbase for similar activities. How will this impact the broader Ethereum ecosystem and the future of DeFi and other decentralized applications? So this is actually like something that people have been talking about quite a lot. Let's go and have a look and see what some of the points brought up were. So here Jasper's the one who shared the paper, and then Samus here pulled out a screenshot about people like reaching out for thoughts and opinions And it says, when we reached for commentary, Lido's head of legal and general counsel Eric Hill said he was not the right person to talk to and was no longer in that position. He did not confirm when he stepped down from that role and who his replacement is. Media representative for Lido also didn't respond to a commentary request. And then they said no one from the Lido or Rocket Pool's general emails replied, and they've basically trying to figure out ways of contacting. But there's this idea, basically the Rocket Pool community, that Rocket Pool and our ETH are decentralized, and there's literally like nothing that the SEC can do. Like even if they shut down the Rocket Pool team right now, Rocket Pool itself could technically carry on, and it might, you know, have like degraded service for a while, but then your mama's house protocol kicks in, and then, you know, me and Patches and Pateris and others become order members, and it changes again. But Rocket Pool is decentralized, right? And like there's nothing that, you know, you can do to take down the contracts. Lido, however, is run by a set of people. Most of those people, admittedly, are not in the USA, so that is a level of protection that Lido has. However, you know, the SEC's arms are really long, and it's going to be really interesting to see what might or might not come out of this. And then Jasper replied here on Twitter by saying, this is a great article. The SEC is waging a pointless war. I want to touch on something that was mentioned in this thread. The system that is the least managerial and most passed through will be least likely to be considered a security. Only Rocket Pool maintains a distributed network of independent permissionless node operators running 100% of stake. There is no trusted party doing the staking work on behalf of others. Node operators are incentivized by increased pure staking APR and have much the same experience as running solo node. Many do both. Meanwhile, our ETH holders have their stake distributed automatically to this set of operators. So, yeah. Here this person replied saying Rocket Pool is likely a security, something like all nodes probably not. So it's really interesting because how is it all going to work out? Like these are very, very active discussions and questions that are taking place right now. There's definitely one to keep the eye on going forwards. Okay, next we had this little summary of the community call that took place on Thursday. So here Sneaky gave the update. It says Langas mentioned Houston deployment likely to push back about a week. So he was giving a little bit of alpha about the audit work and how it's going to be, how it's going well. And also some of the audit news came out of that, where he was saying that, you know, some of the cases were still open, but they have been resolved and closed or downgraded to informational instead of low severity. So that is good that it was all sorted out. Thank you, Sneaky, for that update. Okay, so on Wednesday night was rewards night, and we had some drama about that with some of the trees not agreeing with other trees. Patches here gives a post-mortem on what happened. He says, what follows in my interpretation of the events that led to interval 22 producing what social consensus had deemed to be a bug tree. Financial impact is so trivial that even if we set up a way to correct it, the gas cost of doing so would greatly exceed the remuneration. The RPL rewards were correct, only the smoothing pool was impacted. Voting against version 9 will not fix anything. This issue is present in all previous versions. And then Patches here goes on to explain how it all worked out. Basically that there was a problem where some order members were using a different tree compared to others, and because of that there was an error, and that error went through on the bad tree, and the bad tree is the one that was node operators were using. But you can read the full post-mortem. Here Patches put a quiz as well, saying please opine on how you think should be corrected in the following sentiment poll. So clarify attestation inclusion rules as errata in RPIP 51 version 8 without polling the full PDAO, and 89% of people responded to disagree with that. And then write and pass a new RPIP and new version of the rewards tree through the RPIP process, and 11% of people agree with that. That's 2 people. So Patches says that he's in favor of amending the RPIPs via errata, and then there's some discussion back and forth, but mostly just like support for Patches. So thank you, Patches, for putting that together. That was really helpful to read and understand. Okay, let's go back to the Rocket Pool Discord here, and we have an update from Val saying that the IMC nominations are closing soon. and he's actually wanting to incentivize rocket fuel viewers. So Val will be giving 15 untracked Val points to anyone who nominates a candidate. So here's the thread. IMC nominations closing in 3 days. So it's going to be basically closing tomorrow. So if you are if you're on the fence, please nominate yourselves or nominate other people, and you'll be getting some of those sweet Val points. Supposedly I missed out on getting Val points because I put my name forward before the Val points were in existence, so I'm kind of disappointed by that. But a whole bunch of new names came in since I last talked about this. So we got Astanita, Dukey, Halulo, Lee, Invis, and Kevster, and those are names put through by non-fungible Yokum. Invis politely declined. So I guess the next stage is that tomorrow we'll have the slate finalized, and then we will make our applicant statements, and then it'll go to vote. So this is really exciting. Okay, we already covered that. Right, so we've got some news about the on-chain voting versus snapshot voting, and here Langer says this week the team ran a workshop on the issue of converging snapshot and on-chain voting systems. During design, our intention was to build a new snapshot strategy to refer to the new on-chain delegation system so that votes are consistent across the two systems. The issue is that snapshot doesn't have a Hashkey version, so this has been hard to test out. There are a couple of issues that need to be resolved to allow consistent voting. With the new on-chain delegation, the delegate is a node address, so snapshot voting would have to be done using that address if unchanged. We obviously don't want node operators delegates loading their account into MetaMask. We also don't want people to register a node address just for signing in snapshot. The current snapshot voting address set on the node is used for both signing as an individual voter and to assign your delegate your voting power. The current snapshot voting address is a one-to-many mapping, which doesn't work as dedicated signing key. So he's saying that we're proposing the following solutions. We deploy an on-chain registry of signing keys. This is standalone contract, very simple, not a rocket pool protocol network contract, no audit required. The signing key would replace the snapshot delegation address in the smart node. Delegates and node operators use the smart node to set their signing key, similar to how they originally set up their snapshot key. Delegate pages change to display delegate node address rather than the signing key. Node operators initialize their vote and optionally set their delegate to one of the delegate node addresses. Node operators, if they want to vote themselves or override their delegate snapshot vote, set their signing key using the smart node and adjust snapshot to use the new signing key and the on-chain delegation mapping. So the upside of this is a snapshot and the on-chain system are converged, still use the snapshot UI as usual. The downside is that this introduces additional gas costs to migrating voting power. We have to get the messaging and UX right to ensure there isn't confusion. I want to post here to get feedback and ideas before I post it to the DAO forum. Sorry for the wall of text. So then there's an image as well of what it might work like. Val says that it seems sensible, certainly less painful long term to have one source of truth for delegation. Definitely going to be a rough transition bit. Given the structure, it seems like current snapshot could still exist alongside this until enough has migrated. I know there's definition of that on the chain side, but what is that again? Does it make sense to use the same one, or perhaps simply have a snapshot vote to move to a new snapshot strategy at some point? And then Langer says that it's going to be rough. He agrees. I hope that we put some transparency around it, webpage or something, so that we can track progress and make it easier. We're also looking to do a quick start guide for Houston to explain the process. In terms of the enough migrated, it doesn't make sense to transition snapshot until the PDAO voting system is turned on. So we could do it at the same time. A snapshot vote to confirm the transition is a good idea. Again, if we can show transparency on the transition, it will make this easier. So that was an interesting discussion that's taking place. We're going to have to see how that ends up being in reality. Okay, next, Ramana was really proud about this, so he sent me this to submit in the episode. Gas, as you all know, has been really cheap, so Ramana made a new validator, and this validator cost 10 DAI to make it. I think it went through a 3 GUI, and this has to be one of the cheapest validators that's ever gone through. So congratulations to Ramana for getting a validator through at $10, which is actually really amazing when you consider that gas costs at launch night were I think $1,000. Someone paid $1,000 to launch their validator on launch night. So this is literally like 100 times less than that in terms of fees, which is absolutely mind-boggling. So congratulations. I think we might end up getting some cheaper validators than this through in the next couple of weeks if Ethereum gas stays at the low levels that it's at. Okay, Flat Money here have been making a lot of moves, so I thought I'd give an update of what they're doing. So they got 3 million TVL now. It says the future is bright for the flat money markets on Base, now 3 million. So it's 908 RETH held across the Flat Money market and the RETH perpetual futures market. Flat Money has grown at a rate of $1 million per week since launch. And then they've got a couple other tweets kind of hyping what they're doing. So it says we've launched the Flat Money analytics page so you can track key KPIs for the Flat Money markets, the total TVL, unit collateral TVL, margin, leverage, margin TVL, collateral and margin balance, and more stats as well. And then also they say as Flat Money grows, we want to reward early users and aligned ecosystem participants through our Flat Money points program. Early participants in the Flat Money ecosystem have been earning Flat Money points since January, and then you can learn how to do that as well. So if you are interested in Flat Money and how it all works, what they're doing on Base, RETH is their main collateral. It's really cool that they've got nearly 1,000 RETH in there now. So if you're interested in working with Flat Money, definitely go and check that out. Okay, let's get back to the Rocket Pool Discord here, and we have this news of Ramana's new marriage. So as you know, Ramana and I are mostly divorced. We just have one validator running now, down from around 15 validators, I think, which is what we had until a few weeks ago. But now Ramana is already married to Love Points, and their marriage seems to be doing well. So they got their reward for interval 22, and they claimed their rewards. So that is all done. And Ramana didn't get any RPL rewards this time, but Love Point seems to be happy with that. And the idea is that they might be adding more, but Love Point says that it seems people are more into the idea of sharing via Houston rather than the Ramana's splitter contracts. I guess they believe trust the audits a little bit more. But hey, look, I had thousands of RPL in that marriage, and Ramana had hundreds of ETH in that marriage, and we've unwound almost all of it quite well so far. So I don't think there's too many issues with those contracts that Ramana wrote there. So good stuff. Okay, next we have news of this POAP raffle. That was the Upgrade Master POAP raffle, and this is going to be finishing today. So by the time you watch this episode, you might only have a matter of minutes to get on the raffle. Of course, you need some of the Upgrade Master POAPs. To do this, there's 8 POAPs that are eligible, and there are 2.5 hours to go from when I'm recording this. It's likely that the episode will be coming out with like less than an hour to go of this to go. The prizes are 10 RPL, and then 3 prizes are 5 RPL. The 10 RPL prize also gets your name on the POAP. The Master POAP, there's now 50 participants with 236 POAPs, so they have an average of 4 and just over 4.5 POAPs each. I of course have all 8 POAPs because I'm awesome, but the chance of winning something are not that high now. So I wasn't going to cover it on the show just to like boost my own odds, but it seems like it's not going to work anyway. So oh well. Okay, moving on to some Ethereum news now. Here we have this update from Mike Neuder about issuance talks and changes that he has. So Mike has been talking about this topic for a few months now with different levels of controversy around the whole thing, but it seems like he's really trying to find something that works. And he wrote this post about some new ideas of issuance changes and minimal viable issuance, etc., and what it might look like. So if you are interested in this, of course it's going to impact all stakers. Check it out because there's some good information in here. Okay, EthStaker wrote a guide to what hardware to buy if you want to run your validators from home, and they put out this tweet that people really liked, and there's a page accompanying it. So what they are suggesting is that you need a modem and a router. You probably need internet to begin with. A smart plug is optional, but that can let you remote restart your validator. A computer, they have 2 options here: an Intel NUC 11 at $395 bare bones version, or an Asus Expert Center bare bones version at $358. Then they have a UPS, which is the external power supply in case your power goes down, and that's $60. Then they have a Samsung Pro SSD at $167, and then also RAM at $68. So these are what they recommend. Of course, you don't have to buy what they recommend, but it makes it a lot easier now to figure out what's going on with the stake, and they tell you the different steps involved in the process and what the benefits of it all are. So this is a really nice little thing to people, like they can just go and buy it, and like if you buy everything here, it'll probably cost you around $700, I think. Yeah, just less than $700, between $650 and $700. So you can get your validator up and running quite cheaply. Of course, you can also buy a Proteus from Joe, and I think those are also $600, but they run on the Rock 5B board. So the system, your processor will be slightly less powerful than an Intel NUC 11 i7. Okay, got some news about Figment out from the client diversity side, and here now they are saying they're Geth free. Figment, the safety and security of our customers' assets are paramount. This commitment led us away from utilizing Geth due to its supermajority status, and then they explained how they became Geth free. So this is actually really great. Huge kudos to the Figment team. And if we have a look at the client diversity website now, we can see that Geth, according to this, is down to 57%, which is phenomenal. We really want that number to get down as low as possible. Nethermind at nice 25% is really healthy. We will really want Bisu now to get up to that 25% level as well. So if we can get Geth down to around 45%, with Nethermind and Bisu around 25% each, that would be fantastic. Of course, Reth we're waiting for Reth to come online on mainnet. It seems like a lot of people are also waiting for Reth as well. And I think that actually will take a big chunk of Geth's usage away, maybe 10+% away right at the beginning. I can expect it becoming like the third biggest validating client, like pretty much right out of the gate within the first couple of weeks of it launching. And then maybe even eventually overtake Nethermind, because there's a whole lot of hype around Reth right now. And people are really excited about like the performance updates that it will potentially bring. Okay, so talking about Lido and like they're actually not, they're quite not their dominance. Talking about dominance going down, then there's Lido. Of course, they have their majority of the stake is through Lido. Here, Hasu has an update on what he thinks the updated goals for Lido in the light of the MEV discussion and restaking worlds are. So he gives his idea of how he thinks that Lido should approach this next period of Ethereum's like growth and development. And you can read the whole post, but two of the main things that he says is that Lido should get more involved in actual research, which people have responded strongly to that by saying that they are basically trying to capture research maybe, but I don't know if it's that nefarious, but maybe it is. I think it's better to approach with suspicion rather than with trust. And then the second thing that they're saying is that Lido shouldn't become a liquid restaking token. Restaking protocol. Here, Hasu gives a summary saying, stay focused on security and decentralization, participate in this staking roadmap research, reaffirm that STETH should stay an LST and not become an LRT, and then support Ethereum-aligned validator services, starting with pre-confirmations without exposing stakers to additional risk, and make STETH the #1 collateral in restaking market, allowing stakers to opt into additional points on the risk and reward spectrum. So then there's some feedback there if you are interested in that. But Hasu is, I think, the strategic advisor of Lido, and his opinions actually carry a lot of weight with Lido. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's outcomes from these suggestions from Hasu. I'll definitely keep an eye on those. Next, we got an update from Peter Sillidy. So Peter, of course, is with the Geth team. Geth said they had a bug last week, but it's fixed in the newer versions. However, in the older versions, it's not fixed. And what they are planning on doing is making the details of the bug public. So if you are on an older version of Geth, please update to the latest version as soon as possible, because otherwise, you might be on the version with a bug. Well, you likely are on the version with a bug, and then the details of that bug will be going out into the world. So, you might see someone try to use that against people using Geth with older versions. So please upgrade as soon as possible. It's what Peter's saying. We'd like to publish the networking vulnerability in previous versions of Geth. So please make sure you're on a patched version before we give the details out to reproduce the attack. Okay, Bankless here had a little thread about Heroglyphs, and this is a project that's catching a lot of attention from stakers, and it might be interesting for you to read this thread if you still have questions about how Heroglyphs works and the hieroglyph environment. Here they just run through this thread and kind of tell you how it all works and what the different rewards you can get and how to set it all up and what it might look like. So give it a thread and check it out if you are interested in hieroglyphs. Okay, next we're moving on to some Ethereum news now, and we've got some very, very interesting news. So one of the things that we've been waiting for is some kind of communication between the SEC and the applicants. And there was this idea, a few months ago that applicants, this is ETF by the way, Ethereum spot ETF applications with the SEC. So there was this idea that a lot of applicants were adding staking as a component to their stack, and the idea was that this would give the SEC a chance to say, hey, remove this staking component and we'll approve it, by saying they're trying to be going hard on the applicants, but also approving the thing. So this was a common idea that was around a few months ago, but because there's been very little understanding of what's happening behind the scenes or anything messaging coming out of the applicants or the SEC, the idea was that it was just an idea basically. It's not something that's going to be real. But anyway, on Friday we had ARK 21 shares filed an updated version of its spot Ethereum application, and in that they actually did two things. So they here, and then the tenor says the new 21 shares remove staking from its ETF application. Will be interesting to see if others follow. Wonder if this means that the SEC staff are engaging. And the idea was that it might be too late. The idea was that it might be just them doing it of their own volition. And there was interesting here that Marceau asked Scott Johnson, is there anything to read here? It seems positive at first glance, providing seed capital and taking out staking, but I have to imagine that it's effectively impossible to turn around approval at this point. And Scott replied to say very marginally possible. Positive, ARK obviously has at least some fleeting hope. I doubt these are responsive to SEC comments though, so mostly house cleaning and putting their best foot forward. Wouldn't infer too much though. So have a look at the changes here, or that content is no longer available. So what happened is, as Marceau says in his tweet, that the two things is, one, they said that they're providing seed capital, but it was a very minimal amount of seed capital, just they're getting it in place, I guess. And the second thing is they were taking out staking, so there were sections of the text removed from that as well. So those were the changes. It definitely got the whole of the crypto market like a buzz, so much so that the poly market odds kind of changed. So on May 5th, they were down to 6 cents. And then over the last couple of days, they've gone up to 18 cents. At one point, they were 18 cents, right? Now they're hovering around 16 cents. So that's gone up significantly. Yeah, here, Dreaming just bought 6,000 shares for $1,000 at 17 cents each. So it's going up. I don't know if it's going to be sustained or not. Of course, we've got 10 days until the SEC approves or rejects the amount. The applications. The first two applications that are due, and then after that, we'll see what happens next. But it looks like we bottomed at around 6 cents, and now we are around 16 cents. 16% chance of it going through. We're going to see if there's any news this week that might make it happen, but the longer we wait, the less likely it is. And of course, in last week's episodes, I talked about how there's very little belief from the applicants and people in the that might know about this being approved. So the chances are low. One of the things that I've seen is that the SEC might allow a spot ETF, but then calls spot ETH, basically just the Ethereum ETH token, a commodity, but once it's staked, then it becomes a security. But that's just speculation from people, and no one really knows. Okay, in other legal issues here, Paul Grewal had an update from Coinbase saying today the SEC filed its response to our filed its response to our request to file an interlocutory appeal with the Second Circuit. The Commission couldn't help contradicting its own arguments for the same kind of appeal in Ripple. Here's just one example. Compare what they said before to what they're saying now. It says, let's at least have an honest conversation. Forget about split across agencies, circuits, and elsewhere. There's not even a consensus about Howey and digital assets amongst the district judges in the same courthouse on Foley Square. Read the SEC brief yourself. So basically what he's saying is that people they're just using bad arguments, and it's not good. So there's some like weird stuff coming out of the SEC, and they, like it said, that they're contradicting themselves in different cases in different places, and it's not right. Okay, here we have ism.eth giving an update on their dashboard, and this is actually really exciting because it says that they added some more chains to their dashboard, and this is to show activity happening across different chains. And it says we also now combine stats with Ethereum layer 2s. I've added this to have a better view on the active users. If a user is using multiple L2s, it will still count as a single user on the combined stats and link to the dashboard. So let's have a look at the dashboard. It's actually really cool what you can see here. So if you have a look at transactions per day, Solana is doing well on that. Basically, and active users per day. Here we have the number one being Polygon, and then the main thing that you want to look at though is with this combined Ethereum layer 1 mainnet and layer 2s, you'll see that like the numbers here for the combined numbers in terms of transactions per day are higher than all the rest of these in the list. And in terms of active users per day, there's more on Ethereum than there are on any other network as well. So I really like this idea of combining these layer 2s with the Ethereum number. It says the following chains are combined. So the mainnet, Arbitrum Scroll, ZKSync, Optimism Base, Polygon ZK EVM chain, Linear, Celo, and Zora. So users are not duplicated. So if a person is using the same address, then they count as one user. But that is really cool. It just tells you how the Ethereum and layer 2 environment is growing, and it's looking really strong right now. So here, people were like making definitive conclusions based on like Ethereum layer 2 adoption right after the Dankun hard fork. So on May 13th, John here said, don't take seriously people drawing definitive conclusions based on Ethereum layer 2. But now Millie X here says, time to call this out since I was definitive conclusion drawer at the time. Layer 2 fees are still sub-cent in many cases, and basically every layer 2 that matters now is 4844 compatible. Rollups work. Ethereum has won the scaling wars. Sorry, John, but I am to be taken seriously. And then Jasper here as well says, hey, Mert, can we try that again? Seeing sub-cent ARB transactions again, even though 4844 came out months ago. So what's really interesting here is that the Solana bros have now shifted, and they're saying that basically you've gone to, you can't even pay for your blocks are not full basically. So they're saying, oh, the reason why the fees are so cheap is because the blocks are not full and the blobs are not full basically. And mainnet gas demand is cratering as well with the single digit ways, and ETH being inflationary again. But they're just shifting the goalposts as they always do. And the reality is that Ethereum usage and growth, like adoption, is as the highest it's ever been. So that's pretty amazing. And here, like Grow the Pie showed that as well, saying this chart is up only, soon to break 2.5 million daily addresses, now at 2.3 million, and Arbitrum has reached a high level of activity, which is awesome to see. And also here, Journeyman saying, user growth on Ethereum and layer 2s is without doubt exponential now. Ever since the introduction of blobs and cheap transactions on layer 2, millions of people choose to use peer-to-peer interactions. It's no surprise that powers that be are reacting badly. We're entering the steep part of the technological S-curve. So this is the thing that we've been waiting for avenues to scaling being open. Ethereum, of course, adopted the scaling via layer 2 roadmap, and that is giving fruit now. And of course, there'll be periods where demand increases and those blobs will get full. But then the great thing we have is there's really great tools coming up in the future that will help mitigate that. So it'll be a game of cat and mouse, where right now, the transactions are cheap, they'll get expensive again, and then we'll increase scaling because we can add a number of blobs, we get PeerDAS, we get all these other great new tools that we'll get whenever we want. Basically, we can increase the blob sizes whenever we want. And that'll keep prices cheap until we get the technological breakthroughs to keep it going as well. And of course, as the transactions are cheap, then there'll be more demand. As the demand increases, prices will increase, and then we can increase scaling again. It's actually really beautiful, and I'm really excited to see how this is going to keep going forwards. Okay, so a whole bunch of, we're going to be talking about banks for a minute now, and banks are basically bullish Ethereum. So JP Morgan now is bullish on Ethereum as Larry Fink. Good luck, Gary Gensler. So here they had a response about the Wells notice that went to Robinhood. The SEC's Wells notice that Robinhood should not pose an obstacle to an eventual spot Ethereum ETF approval. So they're saying that should still happen. They're talking about the grayscale discount to NAV here as well, and how it's not looking like how it was looking pretty good a few weeks ago, but now it's looking less good. But they're saying that should still go through. Banks, however, last week they had to put their quarterlies out, and we've seen that a whole bunch of banks now own spot Bitcoin ETFs. So here Wells Fargo declared that they own Bitcoin ETF holdings. We got JP Morgan Chase declaring that they hold Bitcoin ETFs, and that's the biggest bank in the world. Now, what's really interesting about JP Morgan Chase is that their CEO, Jamie Dimon, just a few months ago said that basically crypto is bad and wrong and should be banned, and like if he was leading the US, then he would ban it, but then his own bank is buying the spot ETFs. So that should tell you everything you need to know about just how these bankers think. They'll always put themselves first, and their messaging, it's not what words they're using, but look at what actions they're doing to get an idea of what's going on there. And then here we got this news as well saying that MasterCard, JP Morgan, Visa, Wells Fargo, and other top US banks are testing shared ledger technology for tokenized asset settlements. And then there's an article here, and Antiprosynthesis says, say Ethereum. A few people said that they were using Ethereum for this. However, I haven't been able to verify that independently, but it makes sense for them to do it as a layer 2 on Ethereum. But I don't know what that's happening with that yet. But even if they're not using Ethereum right now, if they're using a private chain, which they've tried before, and I don't think it makes sense to use a private chain anymore, I think they'll be coming to Ethereum soon enough. And then here there's a Forbes article saying Visa, MasterCard, JP Morgan, and Citi reveal crypto plan for mass institutional adoption after Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP prices pump. So here there's articles, and this ideas are coming into more mainstream thinking as well. So definitely check that out if you want more details. And if you know what blockchain they're using, let me know, and then I can let everyone know. Okay, next we've got news of Espresso Systems here, and they are talking about having an relationship with Polygon's AggLayer. So AggLayer is basically a unifying architecture that will put all of Polygon's ecosystem chains on top of it, so they'll have interoperability. Now AggLayer are getting involved with that and talking about helping with the sequencing, I guess. And they're saying that Polygon Labs and Espresso Systems are working to solve the biggest challenge facing Ethereum rollups and L2s, interoperability. They're saying L2s have a horizontally scaled application layer for Ethereum. It's clear that users enjoys the lower fees and improved user experience provided by L2s. But these execution environments launched without necessary coordination layer to ensure they could seamlessly interoperate with each other. And then this is coordinating sequencing and fast trustless messaging. Passing using ZK proofs are the foundational building blocks towards improved composability. Ethereum researcher Justin Drake shows how these can solve fragmentation, and then they talk about how the AggLayer will be working with this and how they will be working with the AggLayer. So I think this is the whole broken fragmentation issues, blah blah blah. I think that was just a FUD basically, because these are issues that are going to get solved very quickly. I expect there to be good, huge progress on this within the next year, so much so that most users won't even know what they're using in the Ethereum ecosystem. Okay, next we had this news from Eigen Foundation, and they said that the airdrop is now claimable, and you have 120 days from May 10th through to September 7th. Now, I made a video about this on my Twitter, showing you how to claim it regardless of where you are in the world. So it's the pinned post right now. It says, helps you claim your EigenLayer airdrop wherever you are in the world. So it tells you about the EigenLayer airdrop, shows you how to remove geographic restrictions, and then how to claim the airdrop. So you do need a VPN to do this, but it's really straightforward and easy to do this. Just watch the video that I made, and I'll show you step by step on how you can do that. Okay, next we've got news of the leaked airdrop from ZKSync. So ZKSync is one of the bigger layer 2s that haven't had an airdrop yet, and people have been saying, when airdrop for ZKSync? Well, it looks like we're getting close to that now, and here there's leak now. I don't know how true this leak is or isn't, but it seems like they've got different scoring criteria. Some of those are for using ZKSync era, like doing transactions different on different days, over different periods of time, how many transactions you did, and you'll get number of points for each of those, or I guess tokens for each of those. And then the maximum, it says the tokens that you can get is 2,500 tokens. The minimum you can get is 200. So depending on what you did, you will get more and fewer tokens, and then that's the way it worked out at that. So it looks like if you did any of those things, it should be pretty easy to get some decent tokens, and I think that's pretty cool. So I'm excited about the airdrop. I'm hearing that on the pre-markets, it's looking like people are saying it's going to be about $5 each. So if you maxed out on 2,500 tokens and you get $5 per token, that's $12,500, which is pretty nice. Okay, DC Investor here talks about gas prices for Ethereum layer 1. So let's just have a look at and see what he's saying here. He's saying the fact that L1 gas is staying cheap while simultaneously L2s are absolutely raging and taking off is extremely bullish for Ethereum long term. If you don't understand, I'll take the time to explain it to you. He says Ethereum ecosystem rationalization is finally happening, and many new apps don't need full L1 assurances and interoperability, but want to access ETH liquidity. Layer 2s have sufficiently proven value proposition now, cheap settlement with eventual censorship resistance access to ETH. So new apps are launching straight on layer 2s and becoming breakout successes, onboarding many times more users than they would have been able to attract on layer 1s. New apps on layer 2s still mostly use ETH at the medium of exchange and store of value asset. Many layer 2s also use ETH for gas. Long-term L1 block space will only be used for very high value settlement and maximally security value storage, which will still be a strong driver for L1 block space demand, and L2 and number 2 for L2 settlement via blobs, likely to remain cheap for a while. This has been the thesis for a long time. Now it's a reality. Declining L1 block space demand while L2s are surging shows it's now actually happening, and it's incredible. So that was really cool. And then we had this update from Non-Fungible Yokum. I was talking about how there might be some games being played trying to manipulate gas prices and keeping them down. But I think it's a little bit conspiracy theory-ish myself, and so does Non-Fungible Yokum, admittedly. But it might be interesting for you to check that conversation out and see what might be happening, even though I don't think it's the case that is happening. Okay, we've got some big news for Arbitrum next, and this is a proposal to deploy BlackRock's Biddle fund on Arbitrum, and this went live. The proposal went live. So this is really exciting that even these TradFi institutions are now seeing the benefits of layer 2s and working towards those and trying to get involved with that. So it's gonna be really interesting to see that deploy on Arbitrum. Okay, so I'm going to talk about politics for a second, and crypto politics at that. So here Sam Lyman says crypto is not a partisan issue, it's a generational issue. So he explains that there was the vote for the SAB 121 last week, and how the 21 Democrats who voted against the SEC, their average voting age was 48. So those are much younger Democrats. The older Democrats are the ones who are anti-crypto, whereas the younger ones are much more likely to be pro-crypto. And the idea is that it's not necessarily the case of Democrat versus Republican, or it shouldn't be the case, but it's just more about the older politicians versus the younger politicians. Now, this has been a huge discussion on crypto Twitter these last few days, and I'm not going to get into it here, but there's been a whole lot of like, you know, how you should vote as a crypto holder in the upcoming US elections if you're in the US. Okay, I'm going to finish today's episode with the news of the Aurora Borealis that happened over the weekend that you probably saw a lot of pictures of it. The reason why I was going to cover it on Friday's episode and then I wasn't able to make a Friday's episode was because there was worries that it might impact electrical like circuits around the world, and obviously it might knock your stake down or validators around the world, but that didn't end up happening. What did end up happening was people seeing some really, really cool stuff. So in the Rocket Pool community, the first person to see stuff was Invis, and he shared these pictures of like basically a pink sky where he lives, which was absolutely amazing. And like I got really jealous because obviously he's in Europe, so he, you know, got that 6 hours before I did. But then I saw Northern Lights as well, just 3 or 4 hours later. And I shared some of my pictures with you know, the Rocket Pool community. But this one is actually like one of the better ones. Like, you know, there's green and purple, and it was just magnificent, and a whole bunch of people sharing their pictures. So yeah, it ended up being really cool without any of the negatives. So on that note, I'm going to end today's mega episode. Thank you all for listening, watching, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all had a lovely weekend, and let's get to 400 episodes on Friday this week, which will be pretty cool. See you all soon. Bye.